All right. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of
All
this
right.
one is E Knows the Deal but Won't Admit It. And pretty much this is a title that just came to me. I was listening to just, channel surfing through the radio, and I happened to come across some Edomites reading the Bible. And at first I kind of went by it, but then my ear kind of caught a little something, so I went back. And pretty much what they were doing is they were reading the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter. And I believe they read around maybe like 3 or 4 verses. And I heard them say something, but I didn't quite catch it because, like I said, I was going past something about a darker something, but I couldn't really catch exactly what he said. So when I went back and I listened to it, he said a few more words concerning Aaron and Miriam, I believe it was. And then this woman came on saying, this is the end of the what you call it for today. Tune in next time. We'll, I guess they'll go into the rest of it next time. But pretty much these devils, they read the scriptures, they study the scriptures. The scholars study the scriptures, and they know beyond the shadow of a doubt, that who the Israelites truly are. They know that Moses and Aaron and Miriam were so-called black men and women, or women of men and women of color, and they know that for a fact. But the problem is that this great deception has taken place. They can't let that be known. For the most part, the ones of them that do know it, they spend their life trying to hide it. Just like when the Renaissance took place, what they did was they spent a lifetime going around all of Europe and places where the dark images of the Israelites, the Most High, the Yahushua, the angels, and the Israelites were put up, and they spent a lifetime destroying those images through something called iconoclasm. And this is why today you have the average person to this day still believes that the Heavenly Father and His Son are so-called white men. And when you bring out facts out of the scriptures that they're not, that there are in fact so-called black men, they get upset about that, because the normal is that so-called God and so-called Jesus Christ are so-called white men. How dare you question that? Because that is something that has been ingrained in the brains of the whole world. And the ones that fight more valiantly than Esau to keep that lie going are you so-called Negros, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You Israelites. So in this lesson, we're just going to hit a couple, some color scriptures, and I see how long the Spirit, allows the lesson to go. I have just a couple of points that the Spirit allows me to remember, in the book of Revelation, the 1st chapter, and Daniel 7th chapter, concerning the Most High, concerning Yahushai. If the Spirit allows, if I remember. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off in the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter, because you have to remember this, like when we go out there to speak, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai open up our minds to understand this truth and to accept it and to have the faith that it is the truth. Most of these people out here do not have that luxury. And yes, I said luxury, and this is a luxury to understand and to know this truth. So when you present them with something that they're not used to, what they're going to do is they're going to buck up against, us. Why? Because they're under a spell. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3 says, "But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost." What is the gospel? The gospel is the good news. The good news is contained within the pages of this Bible. The words that are written in this Bible are the good news, the gospel. And that good news is that, yes, the Most High made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with the nation of Israel, that He would be our power. He would give us law, statutes, and commandments to separate us from the people of the other nations. But when we messed up, the Lord put us off and put us away. So the good news of the gospel is that the Most High, in his great mercy, sent his son Yahushai, a so-called black man, to the earth 2,000 years ago to redeem the same people of Israel, so-called Negros, Latinos, Native American Indians, who the Lord put away at one time. And now they're finding grace once again in the sight of the Heavenly Father through the greatest sacrifice ever done, which is his son Yahushai, because the other sacrifices the Lord was not accepting anymore. So that is the good news. But there's also good news because the Heavenly Father, his son, the angels, the Israelites, they don't look like so-called white people. They don't look like so-called Chinese people. They don't look like any other nation except for what the scriptures explain them to be. You know, the Most High and his son Yahushai being an express image of his father means he looked just like his father. He was a spitting image of his father, which are so-called black men with white woolly afros, you know, if you may, white woolly beards, you know, and that's what we're going to cover in this lesson. But to the average person out there, even Jake out there, they can't accept that because they've been seared with that hot iron through Christianity, through this plantation Christianity. So it says, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, because they are lost. Because whoever does not have the understanding of this truth are lost. I don't care how much they believe in their mind that they know what's going on. I don't give a damn how many conspiracies they know about and how many things they could break down out there in the world concerning, you know, Esau's hidden secrets and all that. If they don't understand the truth of the scriptures and the fact that they are Israelites, you know, they don't have a clue of what's really going on. And even those who know that they're Israelites and don't have the full picture, even they're in the deception also and don't even realize it. So it says, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, in whom the God of this world, which is who? Esau. Esau is the God of this world, whether you understand it, believe it or not. Because people have this mysticism going on, or this bewitching in their mind of when you see the word God, that is speaking about the Heavenly Father himself. Not always is when you see the word God is always speaking about the Most High. This God here is in small cases. Usually when it's speaking about the Most High, it's maybe the first letter is uppercase, or sometimes the whole word is uppercase. Like in the word Lord in the Old Testament. Lord in all caps means the Most High himself, Yahweh. But this here is in all small. So this God here is talking about the God of this world, which is who? Esau, who has the power and control of a God. And that's what the Lord said, you know, woe unto them. Let's go real quick. We go to this a lot, but hey, this makes the point. Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Meaning, in this word power, Allah, which we've gone over plenty of times, which means God. So they have this God-like power in their hands to be able to manipulate everything. So they could use it for good, or they could use it for evil. But they choose to use it for evil. Why? Because they are the wicked. May you do good that are accustomed to doing evil. You can't do anything else. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They come out, as soon as they come out, they speak lies. Because that's what's ingrained inside of them. This is what's put into them. And the God of this world, who has the power, that God-like power, you know, on the planet and over the people, hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. And they don't believe. Why? Because the Lord didn't give them that mineral to believe. It says, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Yahushua, which is what we're teaching, who is the image of the Most High Yahweh, should shine unto them. So if it shined unto them, that means that they would awake and come out of that mist, out of that darkness. And the God of this world would not have the power to blind them, which is Esau. So when you see a Jake out there and you're trying to break things down to him, he can't get it. The God of this world blinded their minds. And like the brother from North Carolina said, the God of the Bible don't want them. You know, he always speaks about the God of the Bible, you know. So that means that the Most High doesn't want them. Otherwise, he would have opened their mind to receive it and understand it, you know. So now, and that's a good precept too. Salaki brother, I know y'all putting some good precepts up, but I'm going to read this one from the Most High Will. Psalms 82:6. I have said ye are gods, and all of you children of the Most High. And this is speaking to the Israelites. But Esau has that godlike power too on the left-hand side. That's why he said he will be like the Most High. All right. So now let's go to Numbers 12:1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. So they had a problem with it, Miriam and Aaron. And then since I know Aaron is over Miriam, but since the Lord put Miriam's name first, it leads me to believe that Miriam was doing the most shit talking. Plus, she's a woman. See, they were both talking shit, but why is her name first? I'm just saying. So it says, and they said, have the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Had he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. So here it is. They were questioning Moses' authority and saying that, look, the Lord dealing with us too. And you could just imagine her just, shaking her head back and forth, talking shit to Moses. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out, because the Most High is going to set the record straight. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently. See? So, excuse me. So the Lord was dealing directly with Moses. All right? It says, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. And he did. He saw the back part of the Most High. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? See? Keep that in mind. So she was talking shit to Moses, and so was Aaron. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. So it says the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. When you read the Book of Mormons, they say that to have white skin, so-called white skin, is a blessing. And to have dark skin is a curse. So if this is the case, right, if what they're saying is true, and the anger of the Lord is kindled, that means that he's about to turn Miriam into a black woman. So-called black woman. Because according to the Book of Mormons, it's a curse to have dark skin. So let's see what the Lord said. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So the Lord was angry, and he turned her from a dark-skinned woman to a so-called white woman. And that was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. Because Aaron begged Moses to beg the Lord not to put that curse upon her. It says, and Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us. So that was a sin. Because we read in the scriptures about the sin of leprosy, or the curse of leprosy. That was a sin that was put upon Miriam for shooting her mouth. Aaron was shooting his mouth too. Why didn't the Lord put it on Aaron too? Because she's a woman. It says, wherein we have done foolishly and wherein we have sinned. So this was something that was looked down upon. And these devils read this. And they know this. But the thing about it is they're not going to speak on it. Because I was hoping that they would have kept going, because I wanted to hear what bullshit spin Esau was going to put on this scripture. But when they got to about the third or the fourth verse, all of a sudden, tune in next week or next time when we go into the rest of this. Okay. It says, let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. See? So this was a straight up curse. So these devils know this. They read this. They know that Miriam and Aaron and Moses and them were dark-skinned people, because Moses himself passed for the grandson of the Egyptian. The Egyptian Pharaoh's daughter adopted him, and she told him that was her son. So he didn't question her, because why? He looked just like them. They were the same, same hue. All right, so now let's go from there to the book of Exodus. I believe that's chapter 4. Yep. Start at the first verse. Exodus 4:1. And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me, nor heart. You know what? Let me just jump to the point. Let's go to the 6th verse. And because, Moses was questioning the Lord, because they weren't going to believe him. His speech wasn't that well, that good. Blase, blase, It said, but now this is what the Lord said. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. So take your hand, Moses, and put it in your bosom. Yep, that's right. That's right. As the elder said, nobody wants to be a pale face, even them suntan, melanin pills, etc. Yeah, because if looking so-called white and pale was so beautiful, how come they're always at the beach? How come they're always trying to get a tan? How come President Trump looks orange from all the tanning that he does in the tanning salon? In those fake ass machines. Why are they always trying to get darker? If being dark is a curse, because they know the power. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. So this is another example in the scriptures of how to be a so-called white person is really a curse. And it's the curse of leprosy. And these devils read these scriptures. So like I said, I was hoping that the guy would have went on, because I actually wanted to hear what he was going to say about that verse in Numbers, the 12th chapter. So it says, and he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and he plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So pretty much when he put it back in and took it out, the melanin came back into his flesh. And you see examples of that with these jakes that have what they call vitiligo, or whatever they want to call it, which is nothing more than leprosy, where they have brown skin 1 minute, and then all of a sudden the skin in certain places starts turning whitish. Sometimes it might have like raw flesh in it, it'll start turning whitish, and then before you know it, you start getting patches on their face, on their hands, on their neck, on their elbows and their legs, and before they know it, they turn completely to a so-called white-looking person from a brown skinned person. That's the curse of leprosy. Let's go to Leviticus. You can read the 13th and the 14th chapter, but we're just gonna jump around a little bit. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go straight to the point. But you can read the 13th and the 14th chapter, which go into leprosy. We're going to go to Leviticus 13:29. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, which is what? Blonde hair. In Spanish, it says rubio, which is blonde. But then when it speaks about Esau, it speaks about him being rubio, but that's a different word. You see, that's why you have to know the difference between the Hebrew words, because sometimes you could use it for different scenarios, so to speak. But when you read this in the Spanish, matter of fact, I know you brothers don't understand Spanish, but let me see if this will give it to me. 29. Just so you can get well, this one here, amarillento. Amarillento is like yellowish, but in other, matter of fact, the ancient, just bear with me 1 second. Just want to show you this. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what I'm talking about. I know I read it somewhere. I know I wasn't tripping. All right, so now let's go here. And this is Leviticus in the Spanish 13 and 29. I'm sorry, 30. And you look through here. Pelo is hair. And then rubio is blonde or yellowish. Just so you know, I wasn't, just so you know. So it says, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, this is a plague. You got these so-called black women with these funky ass weaves and some goddamn blonde. All of them have either blonde streaks in it or is just straight up blonde. That's nothing but a plague, man. That's hatred of yourself. And behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair. And that's another thing about Esau. They have thin hair. That's why they're always trying to get their hair with the bounce. They're always trying to get those products and shampoos that give their body, their hair body, because their shit is flat. They don't have that kinkiness in their hair, that curliness. So they have to put shit in it to make it like that. Just like they got to put shit on their skin to try to make them look darker. But yeah, here it is. You so-called Negros, Latinos, and y'all that have that beautiful brown skin, you want to fucking bleach that skin and turn it white, trying to be like them, and they trying to be like you. Somebody's fucked up. It says, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. So to have yellow thin hair is unclean. To have so-called white woolly hair is unclean. But then you have Esau, which is completely leprous. That's clean leprosy. As to where if you have a Jake that has blotches in his skin, some brown, some dark, then he's unclean. It is a dry scald, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. All right, now, let me see if I could jump up. Just bear with me. Here we go. Leviticus 13:24. Or if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, Esau, then the priest shall look upon it, and Jake be getting that. And behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning, whereof the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy. All right. And you have different types of leprosy. All right. It says 12. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that had the plague from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean. That had the plague, it is all turned white. He is clean. Why? Because that the raw flesh ain't on him anymore. You see? So he turned from a brown skinned person to a so-called white looking person. But now the case be, but when raw flesh appear in him, so if you have any spots on you that are raw, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean, it is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, and the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague, he is clean. Why? Because it's not contagious anymore. Because sometimes some of those leprosies can be contagious, and unclean. But that's why Esau is considered to be a clean leper, because they're so-called all white from head to toe, which really they're red. All right. So now let's move on from there. You brothers could read Leviticus 13 and Leviticus 14 if you want to get deeper into it. It also goes into the leprosy of the house and mildew and all of that. But we're going to move on into Daniel 7 and 9, dealing with the color issue of the scriptures that Esau knows about, but they don't want to touch it. Daniel 7 and 9. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. The Ancient of Days is the Most High, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. So there are many other textures that could have been used to describe the Most High's hair, or there could have been other other animals that could have been, the texture of their hair could have been used just to symbolize what? You have white horses that have fine hair. You have a white polar bear. You have white geese. And different other animals out there that are white. Why wasn't that described? Why wasn't their texture of hair described? Why didn't it say hair like a horse, a white horse or something like that? Why use the texture wool? Because wool, when you look at wool, it's kinky, and it's like fluffy, and that's the same texture of hair that the so-called Negros and some of the other tribes have. They range from woolly hair to curly, and then over time of mixing with Esau and the other nations, you have Jakes out there that have straight hair now, that have blonde hair, blue eyes, and all that. But they're still Israelites, But the case be, in the case of the Most High, why did they use the texture of wool? Why couldn't they use anything else that it could have been described as being white? Because it wasn't talking about the whiteness, even though his hair was all white. It was talking about the texture of the hair. When Daniel saw it, that's what he wrote down. That's exactly what he saw. He saw the Most High sitting with a woolly afro. So it says, and the hair of his head like the pure wool, and his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. And there was I don't know if I still have it somewhere. There was a brother, Simeonite brother, that used to come down to the 34th camp. This is before YouTube, and he brought to me one time a Spanish a copy of or a photocopy of this Spanish dictionary. The definition in Spanish for the word wool, and when you read through it, it described the texture and all that, but it also described, it says the hair of the blacks, so-called hair of the blacks. That's what it said, in Spanish. And sometimes you could, you'll find some dictionaries that will say, the hair, so-called black hair. Sometimes you've run into it. I don't know if they, because over the years these devils been changing shit. So I don't know if you're gonna get that anymore. But sometimes you luck out and run across those definitions. Let's see. I'm just looking through something real quick. But because ever since we've been bringing that out, Esau don't want to touch that. Esau wants to get away from that. And then the definition for the word wool, they just have the fine, soft, curly, or wavy hair forming the coat of a sheep, goat, or similar animal, especially when shorn and prepared for use in the making cloth or yarn. And when you look at that hair and you compare it to Jake's hair, that does not look like Edomite hair. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, bro, but when you look at that does not look like Esau's hair. That looks more like an older Jake's hair, when they were shorn. Some are a little, the curls are a lot tighter, and some of them are a little looser, but nevertheless it's all wool. That does not look like Edomite hair to me. Maybe it might look like that to Esau, but not to me. Let's see. All right, so let's look up this word wool. Look up this word wool. Like the pure wool, you know what I mean? That's just some serious Aymar wool. Here, Aymar, from an unused root, probably meaning to be shaggy. No, it's shaggy. It's shaggy. It's definitely shaggy. All right, now, which that brings me to, I'm not sure if that's Songs of Solomon 5. Yep, right here. Here we go. 5 and 11. And don't be fooled by it. My beloved is white and ruddy. That don't mean that. It means shiny and of a youthful countenance. The chiefest among 10,000s. It says here, his head as the most fine gold, his locks are bushy and black as a raven. Locks are bushy. Thal, wavy, branchy, use of a woman's hair, figuratively meaning uncertain. Bushy. Right, bushy. Let's look up what the word bushy means. Giving thickly into or so as to resemble a bush. So Esau's hair resembles a bush? You know what, man? Oh, man, this is... Okay. Just bear me 1 second. Okay, now, according to this definition, right, bushy. Bushy says growing thickly into or so as to resemble a bush. What is a bush? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Hold up. Tree. Nope. Back. Fucking devils always got to do some wicked shit, man. Yeah, this freaking thing is acting up. Alright. Know what the hell with it. All right, bushy, right? Growing thickly into or so as to resemble a bush. Look at this bush here, right? Now they're trying to make it. Now that's definitely not bushy. This girl here, that's not really bushy. I mean, it's a little curly, but it's not bushy. I don't know what this is. You know, this is some crazy chick with makeup on, but her hair is bushy. Her hair is bushy, you can see. So that does not, the definition of bushy does not resemble Edomite hair. Because this is so-called white people hair. You know? Now you can see his hair is a little wavy. He probably mixed with Jake or something. You know, but look at their hair. That's a Jake. Their hair is pretty much, you know, straight. Now this is so-called black people hair. That looks bushy to me. So what did we read here? we read, let's go back. It says, his head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. So you decide what fits. Does that look bushy or does that look bushy? You decide. All right, now let me get rid of all of this. Now let's go to Revelation, and then we could close out the lesson after this. Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. It says, the revelation of Yahushua. This is a revealing of Yahushua, what he was showing John, the Apostle John, on the island of Patmos, you know, of the things that were shortly to come in the near future. And he told John to write everything that he saw. There were certain things he told him to omit, but he told him to write what he saw. And what he started with when he was writing was a description of the person that was talking to them, which is Yahushua that was talking to him. So that's why it says the revelation of Yahushua, which the Most High gave unto him to show unto his servants things to which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of the Most High and of the testimony of Yahushua and of all things that he saw. So these are things that he's actually seeing. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Now, as we jump down to the 9th verse, I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation and in the kingdom and patience of Yahushua HaMashiach, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of the Most High and for the testimony of Yahushua. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and what thou seest write in a book, and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And I turned. So he was actually awoke. He was just in the spirit, and the voice was speaking to him from behind. So as he turned, right, and I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. So he's describing what he saw when he turned around. It says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man. Who was the Son of Man? Yahushua. Can that be proven? Of course. Acts chapter 7. And what is it? 55. Just bear with me 1 second. Or is it further down? Yep, 756. And I said, behold, this is what Stephen said. I see the heavens open and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of the Most High. Who stands on the right hand of the Most High? Yahushua. So, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man. This is Yahushua, clothed with a garment down to the foot. So he saw a garment that he had on, and the garment went from his shoulders all the way down to his feet. So he was completely covered, right? With the garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, meaning that the hair of his head was white and it was woolly. That's what this means. It doesn't mean that his head, how was his face going to be white and woolly? Doesn't make sense. His head and his hairs were white, like, meaning the hair on his head was white as wool, meaning the hair on top of his head, on the side, his eyebrows, his eyelashes, his mustache, his beard. It was white and woolly. Again, why use the texture of wool if there are many other things that they could have been used, to describe his hair? It could have used, Esau has that doggy stringy hair. Why didn't it use a white horse, or different other so-called white animals that have that stringy hair. Why wool? Why spend so much emphasis on wool? Because of the texture of the hair. This is talking about the texture and the color of the hair. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, because this was a representation that Yahushua drank wine. Not that he was drinking wine in the heavens, because the angels don't drink wine in the heavens. But his eyes were like that because that was a part of the prophecy, how he was going to come drinking wine. Because you had some idiots that try to say, oh, he's up in the heavens. He said, I'm not going to drink the wine until I come back with you again. Yeah, dickhead. But the prophecy says that his eyes will be red with wine. All right? So that was to let us know that this is specifically dealing with Yahushua. It says, and his feet like unto fine brass. Now, fine brass is not white. Fine brass is a derivative of brown, brownish gold. But then when you look into the Greek, it actually says bronze, called kalibanon. Let's see if they have any other. Let's go. Let's see what they got here. His feet were like polished bronze. See? Refined in the furnace. So bronze is actually darker than brass. If you look at the images, bronze is darker than brass. You have bronze, which is darker than brass. Brass, you see here, is like a brownish gold. But then bronze is darker than that. So the technical term that should have really been there was bronze. His feet were like bronze. Now, when we go back to the KJV, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. The word burned in a furnace is different than just polished. So in other words, his feet were very dark. So if his feet were, and why was he only able to describe the skin on his feet? Because his body was covered. The only thing you saw was his face and his feet. Now, if his feet are going to be so-called dark skin, how in the hell is his face going to be white? And vice versa. If his so-called face was white, like these devils try to say, how the hell is his feet going to be so dark? You see? See, he was a dark-skinned man. And when they were speaking about his head and his hairs, it's talking about the hair that was on his head. You know, that's an old English way of saying the hair on your head. I don't know if there any other version will break it down in that way. Let's see. That's the NLT, NIV. There you go. The hair on his head was white like wool. That's what it means. So the NIV got that part right. The hair on his head was white like wool. That's what I mean. Not his hair and his head were white like wool. The hair on his head was white like wool. White and woolly. You know, his feet were like bronze, glowing in a furnace. And his voice was like the sound of rushing water. So the NIV got this part right. The hair on his head were white like wool. Just like we said here in the KJV, his head and his hairs, meaning the hair of his head, were white like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire. Why describe it with the wool texture? Because of the texture of his hair. And then his feet were like fine brass or fine bronze, as if they burned in a furnace. So come on, man. Esau got to stop playing. That's why the name of the lesson is, he knows the deal but won't admit it. And these devils read the Bible. They read the Bible. You know? and that's why they get nervous, you know, and that's why they're stopping, you know, certain information from getting out there, because they know it's true. And when you search throughout the scriptures, there's many scriptures on color. You know, the Apostle Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. Let's go to that real quick, and we'll close out on that. Let's go to Acts. What is that? 21. And this is you know, this is milk. These are milk scriptures, and you see how deep just the milk scriptures are. You know, brothers want to go into, you know, the breakdown of, you know, this climactic breakdown, inside joke on the climactic, you know, and then just color scriptures alone, salvation scriptures alone are super deep. Let's see. Here we go. This is when the Apostle Paul was arrested, Acts 21:37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief priests, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? And the reason why he said that, because he was like thrown back a little bit, you know. It's like, damn, you speaking Greek? How you speak? You know, like how the hell you speaking Greek? Then he said, Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out in the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? So he was amazed that this brown-skinned man was speaking Greek unto him. He said, Ain't you that Egyptian? And it says, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus. So that shows you that although there's a difference between the Egyptians and Israel, they look similar, you know, from a dark brown to a light brown. But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus. So he was mistaken for an Egyptian. So the Apostle Paul, which was from the tribe of Benjamin, he also was a brown-skinned man. A city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. All right. So the point is that he was mistaken for an Egyptian. Moses was passed for the Egyptian's grandson. Come on, man. Y'all got to stop playing. When you look at the different reliefs, the different pictures, you know, when you type in Moses and the children of Israel, you know, in Egypt, the different pictures that come out, you know, from the different reliefs. Yeah, see, when you type in Moses and the Israelites, they always got pictures of white people. But then when you go further down, then they have all so-called white people. But then when you go further down, the truth starts coming out. Come down here. You see there? These are Israelites. Darker brown skin Israelites, lighter Israelites. You know? Let's see what else we got. They ain't showing you too much. Because these devils, you know, especially with Google, they redirect a lot of the searches. Before, you should be able to find information, bam, 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 like that. Look at this man. That's woolly hair. I believe that's supposed to be Moses, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go. Here goes another one. Look at that. Brown skinned people. Woolly hair. Some of them a little lighter. You know, nevertheless, Israelites. So the information is out there. These devils just keep denouncing it because they're in power. So there's no way that they're going to allow, you know, the truth to come out like that without them having something to say about it. You know, they're gonna fight tooth and nail to try to hold on to their bullshit. But it's all coming out. And I'm going to leave you with this last precept in the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. And I started at the 5th verse. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time, because this is the time for him to be revealed. Any other time in history was not the time for Esau to be revealed. This is the time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, because it was already in the workings back then. The Roman Empire was already in power. The Herodian dynasty was already in power, acting like they were Israelites. So Esau was already, because Esau is the mystery of iniquity. They were already at work. It says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. So the Lord is going to allow them to do what they got to do until they get ready to be taken out of the way. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed. When the Lord is about ready to open up on these devils, then the wicked shall be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And what is the spirit of his mouth? His words that are being spoken by his prophets, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So in other words, when there's enough exposure that goes out on Esau, then the Lord is going to allow the destruction to come. Not before that. It says, even him who's coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and that's all they do is lie. So whenever you bring the truth out, you think they're going to accept it? They're not going to accept it. They're in power. They took this power. They got the power by the sword. They're going to use the sword to keep that power, but the Lord is going to come and destroy them. See, that's the whole deal. So the bottom line is, this devil is going down. He's been exposed. You know, he's working his magic on the scene, pushing his microchip, which is the mark of the beast, getting everything prepared, pushing hard for that cashless society. You know, and once he makes his move to a certain degree, the Lord's going to step in and take him out. And the ones that are going to get caught up are the ones that the Lord doesn't want. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. And that's why they can't get it, because the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, because the God of the Bible, as the brother Hawad always says, allowed the God of this world to blind your minds, because the Lord is not going to deliver you in this time, but you'll come back in the kingdom. That they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. See? And this is an unrighteous society. If you can't see that this society is unrighteous, that's because you're unrighteous. You know? So with that, that's a good one, bro. Brother Darak Ibad, Job 30:30, my skin is black upon me and my bones are burnt with heat. You know, that was Job. So there's many color scriptures in the Bible that you could go to make the point. So with that, you know, I got to get ready to roll out. You know, I pray that you brothers have been edified. The waterfall, the comments, and all the scriptures you brothers put up. So like I didn't get to a whole bunch of them. I got to a couple of them, but, you know, I was just rolling, you know, in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Rachak Wadash. So I pray that you brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom. So the information is out there. These devils just keep denouncing it because they're in power. So there's no way that they're going to allow, you know, the truth to come out like that without them having something to say about it. You know, they're going to fight tooth and nail to try to hold on to their bullshit. But it's all coming out.